Are you ready to take your group to the next level? Hi, welcome to the 2025 demo of Choir Genius. I'm Tom, and I'm going to walk you through our all-in-one management system built just for choirs, choruses, and choral organizations. Now, we improve the system regularly, so even if you've seen the older demo from 2024, you're going to want to watch to the end because we have made hundreds of changes and added a few very important new features. So whether you're running a small community choir or a large multi-ensemble organization, I'll show you how Choir Genius can take a ton of admin work off your plate, make communication smoother, and help you keep every aspect of your group running harmoniously. This video has chapters. First, we're going to talk about Choir Genius in general, and then walk through the mobile app. After that, the video has three parts. We'll go through everything in Conductor, which is our lowest feature level, and then review what gets added in the mid-tier team version, and finally, what features are available in the highest feature level, which we call Executive. Now, if you appreciate us creating these detailed product videos, give this video a like. Even better, send it to someone who might want to upgrade their choir or chorus systems. And if you want to make sure you're notified about new Choir Genius videos, remember to subscribe to this channel and click the bell icon. All right, here we go. Before we dive into new features, we need to cover a few overall points. I imagine you've been running a choir or chorus for years, so you probably want to know what makes Choir Genius different from other approaches. First, it's not just a bunch of tools duct taped together. This is a purpose-built platform for musical organizations. Everything from people to calendars to communication to music is all in one place. That gives you and your community a huge advantage in simplicity and a huge advantage in automation. You'll see. Second, it gives you a single database of people. That means your singers, donors, parents, volunteers, applicants all live under one roof with everything connected. No duplicate logins, no messy spreadsheets. One source of truth, as they say. And people can be classified by role, subgroup, or label. These classifications that we call account sets are used to give them access to content throughout the site, which is extremely convenient because it means that all the access changes happen automatically, even as individual accounts are added, changed, or removed. Third, it's highly automated. Things like attendance tracking, reminders, renewals, and even donations can run themselves. Groups often tell us that they save 80% or more of the admin time that they used to spend. This is due in no small part to the notifications. The system proactively looks at your situation and sends the right people the right notifications at the right time, so you don't have to chase people down. And last but not least, it's scalable. Whether you've got 20 people in your community or 2,000, the price doesn't change, and the system can handle it all. Choir Genius imposes no limits on the number of people in your community at any of our feature levels.
This is the home page that we're looking at. Now you can link multiple accounts here by going to settings, but most people, 99% of people have just one account, so we'll leave that off and just tell you about it. This home page has a block at the top that you can edit on the website where you can put your group specific information or links, whatever you would like. That is instead of just copying what used to be the whole member dashboard, because that caused a lot of confusion. So on this dashboard you have a link, a box that goes to the next event and your attendance, any RSVPs, any bulletins you haven't read, any music that is downloaded, or a number of set lists and songs that you have, and a handy pitch pipe. There's a G. Finally, you can go to the whole website. As you can see, I've got the mini player down here already, and we'll get to that in a second. If you didn't have anything downloaded, that mini player would not appear. So you'll find, before we get to the regular menu, let's take a look at this. This is where the push messages will show up. They're going to show up here for all linked accounts. So if you have multiples, that's why it says which account it's from. That's because the device only has one ID. So they come in, and previously if you were on the wrong account, it would cause some confusion. But yeah, you can click through to these, you can delete them. Let's move on to the menu. So the menu can be accessed either by clicking on this little menu icon or by just dragging from the side, which is what I find myself doing. So in order, there's the Your Profile area where you've got your QR code, you've got a little bit of information about you, you can edit your bio now, you can edit your contact information, you can edit your address, and then a little bit more about your roles and voice part and subgroups. So a lot of that is new. Then we have bulletins. course, that shows the bulletins, either the recent ones or the older ones. That's just a filter that you can use. And you can click and read the bulletin. This is very handy because it bypasses any issues there might be with email. And a lot of people, then you don't have to worry about it going to spam or anything like that. Next up, we have the music area where you can see all the set lists that are assigned to your account. I can click on that and see the music that is in that account. If there's a pitch, then I can play it right from here. So you could use that for kind of a rehearsal enabler. And now if I click through to one of these are actually not real, obviously, but if I can download that to the player, or I can even view sheet music or download sheet music. If I view sheet music, it's going to look a bit like this. You can rotate it. You've got controls there for playing the music at the same time, as requested by many, many people. And once you have downloaded the music that you want, you will find it in the player. You can get there by clicking here on player, but you can also, let's imagine we were back at the home page, and you can get to the home page by clicking on this icon, by the way. You can always get to the player by clicking on the mini player at the bottom. And so the player has some ways to clear the playlist and delete things. Obviously you can reorder things. There's a play button, there's skip ahead, there's next track, previous track, there's this thing, there's looping. The looping is like if I'm playing and I'm sort of here and I click A, that'll set the beginning, and then I can click B, and it's just going to loop between those things, and I can clear that. And finally, we have the repeat of one track, the current track, or the whole playlist, and we have a way to adjust the playback speed to speed it up or slow it down. Next up in the main menu, we have events, probably the biggest part of the system. So again, upcoming and past, you can filter the events list by event type. You can say that you will or won't attend. Just takes a second to update there because it goes to the server to mark that. And you can click into a rehearsal and see information about that. You can click on the address to get it mapped. You can click on manage attendance if you have permission. And that will let you either check people in or, ultimately say, oh, they attended virtually or only partially, or they were absent. Or you can filter this. So if you're only responsible for one part or one type of person, then you can do that. And then you can also, on a real device, you can click on this button to get the QR code reader as well. Similarly, if we have an event that has tickets, and I believe we have one here in the past, we can do very similar things. You basically click on ticket check-in. Similar deal, you can check somebody in. You can also click on this button to bring up the QR code reader to check people in from the QR codes on their tickets. Of course, they have to have bought the tickets through our store. So that's events. Finally, we have, or this is almost finally, we have people. This shows either all the people or the leaders. Of course, we respect all the privacy settings. So if I click through to this person, there's a lot of information here because I'm an admin. I can see all of their emails, I can see all their phone numbers, their social media, address, and medical information, all that stuff. But if I was a regular member, I would only see what they have chosen to share. And then anybody can see the leaders area, which has a very similar view. And again, they can click to contact a leader. This can also be filtered by subgroup, by roles, by voice parts. So all of those things are possible. And then finally, we have the settings page. The settings page is where you can look at details of your account. You can sign out, you can remove the account from here. We also added a few bells and whistles, including dark mode, often requested, and you can actually use the app in French. And since that seems to be working nicely, we'll probably be adding a couple of other European languages pretty soon, likely Spanish and German, maybe Swedish. We will see. Finally, you can see the version number of your app here on this settings page.
All right, let's talk about the conductor level. This is a great starting point for a lot of groups. Perfect if you want to keep things simple but powerful, because even at the entry level, QuireGenius does a lot. But if you're feeling overwhelmed, don't worry. You won't actually have to use everything all at once. What you won't find in Conductor are quite a few things: the store, forms, push notifications in the app, music learning tracking, the advanced registration system, parent and child accounts, CRM, donor management, volunteer management, and customizable email templates. Those things are all in higher levels. But if you don't need those things, you'll be perfectly satisfied with our extremely affordable starter offering. So here's what's included and how each piece helps. So first thing you'll notice when you log in is the dashboard. There's a leadership one for admins, a member dashboard that is the one that gets mirrored in the app, and a community dashboard. The community role is for people who are not members but are part of your community. So you'll see that when we talk about people. Good segue into, let's look at manage people. So this is the first screen where you would do that. You can add as many people as you want: members, alumni, donors, patrons, and organize them by voice part, role, or any subgroup you define, or a label. It keeps everything in one place and is super easy to manage. And so this particular tab happens to be about access and classification. So for each person, you can change their status, you can change their roles, their subgroups, their labels, or their voice part. I will mention, because this is the first time we've seen a table, and we have a lot of them in the system, that they have this search and filter area in many cases. They have very often a place to change what columns are displayed. There's a print button that'll let you put up a printable version, and an export button that'll let you take any table data and put it into the clipboard or Excel or PDF or a CSV. In many cases, you can also do multi-editing by clicking on selecting multiples and using this edit functionality, which can be really handy. But let's walk through the rest of the tables as well. So the next one's called engagement, where you can see for each person what email they have and is it going to themselves or to their parents if you happen to have a children's choir, therefore you're using executive, not conductor. When they last used the website, when they last used the app, when they last reacted to mail and what they did with it, like if they opened it or clicked on something. And the actions that you have from here are password reset or to send an invite. Then memberships, this is the last one we'll do because I'm going to try to keep it simple, is that it shows you their first time they started and the last time that their membership expired, how many days there are to expiry, if they have any outstanding invoices, and what their roles are. So that's super handy around registration time. So let's add an account here, and I'll show you the model for that real quick. So the blue items are self-serve. That includes, of course, the name, birthday, a little biography. The yellow items here are only for admins to use. That's where you would assign them a role, which gives them permissions to use the system in various ways, and to classify them. That's important because classification gets you access to content. So on the role side, admin is someone who can do literally everything, including configure the site. A manager is somebody who can do everything but not configure the site. A coordinator is kind of halfway in between. They can view member information and manage non-financial content, basically. An assistant is just someone who can help attendance. Then the regular role for everybody else is going to be member. That's kind of self-explanatory. Applicant is only used when you're doing registrations through the store in certain situations where kind of audition workflow is turned on. So you kind of don't need to know that unless you're getting deep into that system. And finally, community is a role you can give people if you want them to be able to log in, but they're not members. So this would be good for your alumni or anybody else you want to be able to log in. Classification is pretty self-explanatory. That's where you can give people multiple subgroups or labels. They can also get subgroups and labels by buying something in the store. So we'll get to that in a future part of this demo. And then the rest of the account is login information, contact details where they can add as many email addresses and phone numbers as they like. They can control what is shared with other members. They can add a picture. They can include their address and share that with other members if they like. There's medical information. This can be turned off in settings if this doesn't make sense for you. And there's also additional. So right now in Conductor, you can't have custom fields, but we have a couple in here when this was set to executive. So we put in uniform size and music number, but you can add as many as you want, and they can be of various kinds, but we'll save that for the team demo. You can attach files to the profile. That can be really handy. And you can have a private notes area where you can take little notes about people that they will never see. So that's good. And if you're viewing a profile, you can see a lot of that information. So everyone's got a QR code. You can have a little biography, some summaries of attendance and financial stuff and their purchase history. Here's the classification area, the contact details, relationships, although child accounts are not enabled at the moment. All the different memberships they've had over the years and in what subgroup, which is great for some groups. And forms they've filled out. This one's crazy because it's the one I use for testing all the time. And a little bit more administrative information. So that's a pretty good overview of the account. So now let's take a look real quick at the music and performance area. So first of all, the music library. You can put as many pieces of music up here. There's no limits as you want. In each one, you can upload learning tracks, PDFs, other documents of various kinds. That's pretty intuitive. You just drag files into this area. Of course, this will wind up showing in the app as well. You can have links to other performances or whatever links you want, actually. Classification for exhaustive classification, so you can have a big library and find everything later, including, composers, stock information, historical performances of this piece by some subgroup inside your organization, and of course notes. And then the set list is how you would assign that to people. So here's a set list that has just 2 songs in it, and you can see that is assigned to the role of member. That's the first time we've really run across using an account set, but you could have assigned that to a subgroup as well, like just the debut choir, for example. And this will control what music they can see. Yeah, and then finally, under the music and performance area is the riser placement tool. So here's one that we've already built, and you can obviously it's people standing on some risers. We can change who's invited to this particular riser set. We could, for example, invite another choir from the subgroups, maybe the junior choir. Now we're going to have more people down here that we can drag onto the risers. They're color-coded by section, and you can change those color codings. If you don't like, the risers are very configurable, so you can have them be bigger or have more steps, spacing, all of that stuff can be changed. You can invert it, you can make it even or odd in the front row, all the tools you might need. Or if you don't want to have that at all, you just want to use platforms of different sizes, that's another option. These things can be rotated, they work the same way, you just drag people up. You can put people on the floor if you're doing choreography. You can, of course, have multiple platforms. That's easy to do. Here's this one. We'll put this one over here. So if you're doing fancy staging, that's definitely possible. Yeah, so that's a pretty good overview of that. You can also, of course, assign additional viewers, like if you have a choreography team that you want to see these things, but they're not actually going to be standing on the risers, that's a possibility too. All right, so let's move on now quickly to documents and file storage. So here's documents. In all these menus on the side, the blue ones are the ones that regular members can see, and the yellow ones or gold ones are what the administrators can see. So the admin view of documents is you can see them all in kind of a flat list. If I click on the member documents folder, I can see what's in it and I can change who's assigned to see it, just like a lot of other content in the site. So the idea here is that you can use the documents area to, and if I look at the member view, you can see how that would look. But you can use the documents area to store your handbooks, your information about costuming, uniforms for members. You can store your meeting minutes, your agendas. All of that is often done within the documents area, and there's no limit to how many files you can attach or how many documents you can have. So moving on from there, let's talk about communication tools. Now in Conductor, we basically have bulletins and email. You can make as many mailing lists as you like. So let's take a look at what that would be like. Here's some mailing lists, and if I add a new one, you can see that you can give it a name. You can give it a prefix that'll show up on the subject line. You can give it a list address at your domain. So basically, if you want to send mail to this, you can do it through the site, or you can just send it from your regular email account. And then you decide who's going to be on the list, right? So often one would pick member here, but you could pick a subgroup. And in the case of a one-way list, you also pick who's allowed to send. But with a chat list, the list members are the people who are allowed to send, and replies just go to everybody on the list, really only for small groups. As you can see, templates are available, but they are blacked out in the Conductor version. The other big communication thing here is bulletins, right? So if I want to add a bulletin, It's very much like this. You can give it a title. You can say who's supposed to receive it. You can send this bulletin in email as soon as you save it, or you can send a notification to the people who are supposed to read it rather than the whole thing, which is convenient if you just want them to be able to see it on the site in case you want to make changes. You can pin this bulletin to the top of lists, and then you've basically got a body here that you can put anything in with our HTML editor. You can attach files, and you can insert those files up here, which can make for a really lovely bulletin format. And you can use this to send a test to yourself to see what it's going to look like. So in a nutshell, that is bulletins. Let's talk about the calendar. Very important piece of the system. So you've got the main calendar where you can have as many events as you want, and you can assign different events to different people. In Conductor, it's a relatively simple situation, so we don't have some of the advanced features, but if I add an event, you can see you can give it a type. The types are going to be controllable here, and you can also change the color of each type. You can give it a title. We can repeat events in various ways, which is super handy for setting up weekly rehearsals. You can have internal notes that are just for members to read. You can have an online link, which is great if you're doing an online event or a hybrid event where you want an online link and a physical location. So here's that physical location. You can expose an event to the public and therefore give it some public notes. And then they're going to be able to show up. They're going to be able to view that even if they're not logged into the site, so you can link them to see certain things. It also integrates with the public website that is a part of this, but that's turned off right now. And I can show you that briefly later. And then basically you would invite people to the event. So you can invite members. The options you have in Conductor are add to calendar and invited to RSVP. Okay, RSVP means they're going to tell you whether they can come or not. Add to calendar just means it's going to be on their calendar and they can't RSVP. There's volunteer jobs and time slots, but again, they're not available inside the Conductor version. Now, what else is under events? There's the whole attendance area. So if we want to take a look at attendance, you can see by event or by person, a little forecast of who's going to come. And then once you've taken attendance, you can see the approvals, how many people attended, and so forth. And you can drill down on any individual event to see the people who are coming and what their status is. And you can set someone's status for them by adding a user note or an admin note or setting their actual status. So that usually gets done as part of attendance check-in. So if we have an event coming up, it would be here. Truthfully, these days, very few people use this page because everyone does it with the app. It's just way more convenient. I will briefly note that there are some attendance-related reports. So there's the forecast grid of who's coming to what in the future. There is another one about what happened in the past, and what am I missing? An attendance report. And then the other relevant thing for attendance is how do you get these badges that have the QR codes? So you do it basically from here. This is a standard size. There's a European size too. And you can print these out and give them to people, turn them into stickers, and so that when they show up, you can just beep them in from the app or from the check-in screen. Another really useful thing inside here is that individual people can subscribe to their Google Calendar or to anything that will consume an iCal output. There's some instructions here to tell you how that works, but this means that each person is going to get only the events to which they are actually invited. So if you have a lot of events that are designed for a lot of different subgroups, this keeps it clean for everybody. This is also where they would respond to an RSVP request, or normally they would often do that in the app as well. And I think that about summarizes events. So let's move on to just quickly, let's talk about the public website. Honestly, this is a very, very simple public website. And so let's take a look at, we would just turn that on, make it active. And now you're going to see this extra thing, and you can now have this public website. We don't recommend this for most groups, but it does happen to be included, and it does happen to be free. So you can point your domain at our service, and you can use this as a public website. There are lots of configuration items that are available. You know, you can change the theme configuration, you can make new pages, you can make new menus, you can make new blocks and put them in regions. So that's kind of the public website. And now I think we've arrived at the end of the Conductor review. So as you can see, The Conductor tier is an affordable but very powerful toolkit that helps you organize, communicate, and stay on top of group management essentials without the stress. Now let's move on to the team level, which adds some more advanced features. All right, let's talk about what you get when you upgrade to the team tier. This level builds on everything in the Conductor package and is ideal for choirs that are growing, collecting payments, or looking for more customization and communication power. Now, missing from the team level still are parent and child accounts, CRM, donor management, the ticketing system, volunteer management, time slots, and customizable email templates. So if you don't need those things, you'll be perfectly satisfied with Team. Let's walk through it. So the first thing that you'll notice in Team is that we have added something that we call custom profile fields, and they are here on the settings area, custom fields. We've got two in there, sort of music number and uniform size, but you can add as many as you want. You would give them a name and a description. You can say whether they are required or not. And a type. It can be a text field or it can be a selection field. If it's a selection field, you can drive it off of a list. Of course, you can make new lists as well. And you can say whether it has a single value or multiple values. And then you decide where it goes in the profile and who's allowed to see it. So user editable, user visible, or admin only are the three options. And then we have what area of the profile it belongs in. And the weight is just used to make it go in a certain order. So basically that is how custom profile fields work, and they would wind up somewhere on this profile. Okay? The next big thing that comes in Team is the store. And the store is a pretty big part of the system and really brings things together. So you can sell a lot of different things. In Team, you have two different options, actually, three counting the general option. But basically, you've got the storefront here. You've got the orders and invoices for each individual person that they can take a look at. And then you've got products. You can make as many products as you want. If we add a product, you can see how that works. First of all, you have to pick a type. Again, in Team, you have three options: general, membership, or merchandise. Let's take membership because that has the most complicated situation. So this describes the workflow where if you have auditions turned on, it'll give each person the applicant role before they actually pay, although they will be asked to save a card to the system. And then they're going to get the member role when you approve it, unless you don't approve it. But basically, each product can have a title, it can have a category. Let's give it some silly values here. It needs to have an image, so it looks good in the store, and a description. That's going to be a mandatory field as well. Purchase notes are basically things that show up in the invoice when someone buys a product. And then a number of important behaviors. So of course, enabling a product, you can make sure it's visible to the public. If you're selling tickets or something, that's important. You can feature any product at the top of the store if you want to focus on that in the storefront. Or you can suggest a product in the checkout flow, which is often done for donations, as in, would you like to add a donation to this order? You can, of course, charge tax and set your tax rate. You can also charge transaction fees. Now, we use Stripe as the back-end payment system, and they're going to charge their usual 2-point-something%, which is to cover the credit card fees. And you can choose to pass that on to your users in various ways, at whatever rate you like, and in various modes. So I won't go into too much detail there. Okay, so we talked about the membership product. The other product you have access to in Team is going to be the merchandise product. And the merchandise product is similar, but it has a workflow that is around delivery. So it's going to be on your order list until you hand it to somebody, and then you can mark it as delivered. And that, of course, is going to require them to enter an address in case you want to mail it to them. Okay, so one thing you get now in Team that is brand new in the system is our new advanced registration system. So if we enable registration, this is some customization you can do, but immediately you're going to have this item at the top of the list that will let regular people bump into this registration landing page. That's configurable text, so you can set them into whatever context is important for you. And then they would go to their My Registrations page. You can register, in this case, only one person. In Executive, of course, you can register your children. But this would be basically, you choose a track, and then you would choose a product and then fill out some forms. So let's just say you were going to do this one, and you were going to pick one of the options for membership. Then you have to fill out this form, and you could have made those required, and then you agree to this. And now we have this thing, and I can go straight to checkout with that, which would be the typical case in an adult scenario, at which point we're just in the regular store flow now. And so they can cover transaction fees. They can, if they have a saved card already, they can just pay for it. But this is a subscription one, so they save this method, payment method to the order, and it's going to use that method to take the payments on a monthly basis. Okay, so that's done. There's a whole bunch of other options, and as an administrator, you also have access to, of course, look at all the registration tracks and make new registration tracks. And this is basically where you would put in some basic information, description, and then say which products should be there and which forms are going to be on that track as well. And that'll allow you a lot of flexibility and gives you a lot of options in terms of how to set up registration. And this should be almost flawless, foolproof, I should say. So if we log out, you can see that if registration is turned on, this is on the login page. You can also link people straight to this customizable page where they can log in to continue if they actually already have an account, or create a new account. And in this case, they're going to register themselves. I understand. Continue. And at this point, they would enter their email address and type out the code, and then they would basically be ready to type in their account information, and then they can continue with registration. So that, in a nutshell, is how that works. There's also a video that describes that in more detail. Another feature inside the team version is the forms. Now, we had documents before in Conductor, but now we have added forms. And forms are really an amazing part of the site. You can make as many as you want. You can use them for various things, including applications for, say, bursaries or membership, or putting in your Coral resume, or doing different kinds of surveys or polls. And they're extremely customizable, so you'd have to give them some kind of a name and a description. You can then say who's supposed to fill them out, which could, for example, be members, or it could be the public in some cases. And then, some indication of how often they're supposed to fill it out and when. Custom thank you message. You can embed forms in other websites now. That's a brand new feature. And then once you have that in, you can basically build a form, right? So you can drag field set, you can drag a text field. You have all of these different options. You've got checkboxes, and they're all customizable in the same basic way here. This field. And there we go. So that's how you would build a form. Another really cool thing about the forms is that you can see who was invited to fill it out and whether they've filled it out yet. That's something that you can't easily replicate with Google Forms. And of course, you can look at the results in various ways. Either download them all or look at some analytics on those forms. Another feature in Team under communication is the app messages. So this is where you would create a small message and assign it to some account set and have it sent directly to all their phones if they have the app. Another great feature of the team version of Choir Genius is that under music and performance, we're going to have the music learning system. And so that will let you sort and filter and see the status of each person on each song in a set list, and you can kind of filter that in various ways. You can also see it in a big table, so you can see all the detailed records, even click through to the detail on each one. But I think it's easier to go in and to this grid and click on a thing directly, and then you can change the status and change the notes. It's also important that regular members are able to do this for themselves, and so they're going to find that on the set list and all music pages, they've now got the ability to set their own status. But as you can see if we're looking at the vocabularies and looking at music learning status, we can make some of these statuses leaders only. So in this case, regular members can change their own status to not started or in progress or ready for assessment, but only a leader can mark it as approved. So that's the music learning section. And now the executive level. This is our most advanced package designed for children's choirs or other large choral organizations that want to run everything in one place with no compromises. This is the level that will save you the most money because you should be able to stop paying for a number of expensive tools you might already be using. This tier includes everything from the conductor and team levels, plus parent and child account support. Let's take a look at that. So now, because I have executive, I can go to account and I can turn on allow accounts for children and track family relationships. Okay. And so now, when I look at my profile, I should be able to see my family details, and I can click through. And now a parent, when they log in, when they go to certain pages, let's say they go to the members page, they can see members here. So a parent, when they're logged in, if they go to My Music, they're going to be able to see their own music or click on their child and see their child's music. That's kind of like how the parent and child paradigm works here in most cases. It's also important to know that when you have a child, you can go and see that person and edit them. So if I go down to look at my child's profile, as you can see, I have edit access to that. And so I can really interact with the system on behalf of my child. I can get there quickly by clicking on this switch to a family member item. Obviously, this feature is necessary for children's choirs. Now, one of the things you want to know on the profile here is that if it's a very young child who doesn't have their own email address, you don't have to enter one, and you would just set email preference to send only to all parents. And when they get a little bit older and they have their own email address, but they're not quite independent, you could send it to both the primary email address and all parents. And then later when they grow up, they can just send it to the primary email address and use the system on their own. All right, so another massive feature inside Executive that is worth talking about is all the donor management tools. And so first of all, when you go into the store now and you create a product, you can select the donation product type. Okay, that's going to look like other products, but there's a few special features that we can add here. One of them is going to be, probably we want to expose that to the public. And here's the buyer can set price. And you do have to put some kind of price in here, but you could make it some suggested price and then let them change it. That's going to be really important. And then we can label anybody who buys that as a donor. And so now suddenly that account, once they've made a donation, is going to have the donor label, and they can be put on a special mailing list, for example, or granted any other kind of content. But let's take a look at the mailing list and see how that would work. So now we can see that on we don't have a donor list, so let's make one. So we'll say the list name is going to be donors. No subject prefix, because this is going to go out. It's going to be donors at some domain, so you can send mail to the donors from outside the site. It'll be a one-way list, and the list members are going to be anybody with the donor label, and the senders probably just admins or managers maybe. Okay, and because now we have the executive version, we can change the template. And I'll show you that next, but basically you can pick a beautiful template that can be customized, right? So now we've saved our mailing list and we can send email to donors. Let's take a quick look at the mail templates. So here they are. Now, in this system, there are a number, you can set the default. So if you want to use a certain one that's customized for everybody, then you can do that there. Or you can make as many as you want and you can edit them. So here's one that started with a certain fairly simple format, but a new custom logo image was uploaded. And in the one that has the custom footer, here we go, that's a little more complex, but also gives you access to putting in some custom footer information here. That's going to be HTML. And then there's even a template version that can have a large banner. And under advanced on this one, it's going to let you change both attaching files and adding CSS or HTML. So that's going to be letting you do really whatever you want. So in a nutshell, you can make these things as complex as you want, or you can very easily make a beautiful customized one starting with the defaults. And beyond that, the donor management, you can also use a few reports. For example, looking at the the donation list. And that'll let you, I don't have any in the system right now, but that'll let you take a look at who donated how much in a certain period of time, which many groups use for giving them perks or putting them in show programs things like that. And one of the automations around the donor management piece particularly is that when they order a donation from the store, they're going to get their tax receipt automatically generated as long as you have put in your nonprofit information here. Okay, so that'll save you a whole step of having to send them tax receipts. Another huge feature in the executive version that could save you an enormous amount of money is the ticketing. So if we look at products and we add ourselves a product, and now you can select tickets. So the way tickets work is you would give them a name like tickets for so-and-so event, and then you have to pick an event from the calendar that you want to sell tickets to. Normally that would be a performance. Give it a beautiful image, give it a new description. Of course, all these other features are still here. And now you probably want to label anybody who buys a ticket as a patron, and that's going to be similar to the way the trick we did with donors. So you can then automate your whole mailing list to get people to come to your shows. Then a typical thing we can do here is say general admission tickets and premium seats, right? So maybe these ones are all good views, and this is the front 3 rows. And you can make as many of these as you want. You can even let the buyer set the price, which some people do, or you can set a price for this, which is maybe $25, and this one's going to be $50. These will be one-time purchases, and you can label them as a patron in both cases. And of course, stock. Now, it makes sense with this kind of thing to track stock at the product version level separately. So we have, 250 general admission tickets, and we have 50 regular tickets. Okay, so let's save that product. Now I'm going to go through the store and just buy a ticket so you can see how that will look. And you can link people straight to this page where they're buying a ticket, or you can, a lot of these tickets are for older. Yeah, here we go. Here's the one I made. Sorry about the silly name. Yeah, so you would then pick, say, 2 general admission tickets. You would go to checkout. You would customize some things, like you can give individual names to the ticket holders or just make them guest of. You can have these sent to will call. And now you pay for those. Here's your order review. You pay for those and you pay the invoice. And now I'm going to get emails that have beautiful PDF tickets in them with QR codes. And now, of course, under events, we've got the ticket center where I can see what's the status of tickets that have been sold over the last 90 days, and we can edit the product, and kind of a one-stop shop for looking at all of that stuff. Or I can go to the ticketed event check-in. And again, you can do this from here, but most people use the app to scan in those QR codes. Another really cool feature in Executive that has to do with events, actually there's 2 features I'd like to show you. So let's make a performance, and let's call this Big Show 1, 2, 3, and it's going to be from 4 to 5. It's not going to repeat. We'll have some notes. We're going to skip over all that, and let's have some volunteer jobs for that show. So this is who's being invited to apply. It could be all accounts or member or community, and we're going to say we need some ushers, 4 of those. And we also need some front of house, and maybe we need some people to tear down. That's going to be maybe 6 people, and this is 4 people. All right, and we're going to award some points to those. We don't have to do this, but we can award points to people who take those jobs. And then we can add all of those points up at the end of the year and reward them, or give them store credit, or any number of different things. So now when they look at this event, they're going to see this, and they can say, I want to volunteer for that job. Or if they phone you and you happen to be an admin, you can pick a person and you can say they want to volunteer for that job. Okay? So that's that feature. But there's another feature under events that I also want to show you. So this one is going to be, instead, it's going to be, call it a meeting. We could actually add another one for this specific thing, and this is going to be audition day. Audition day is going to be from 4 to, say, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Not going to repeat. We'll have a little bit of instruction about where you go and how you get in. And then we're going to divide this event up into time slots. And so this event will have 2 tracks, and the tracks will be 12 minutes long, which is enough time for a simple audition. We're going to save that. And now people can go here and say, okay, I want the one at 6:24, right? Or again, if you want to take phone calls from people, and you can fill this out for them. And of course, the system is going to notify them all about that. And these tracks could be with different peoples in different rooms. Lots of different ways you can use time slots on events. So that is, once again, a pretty popular thing. So as you can see, the executive tier gives you a complete ecosystem for managing your entire community, singers, parents, volunteers, supporters, and audiences, all in one place. And that's the whole tour. Thanks so much for taking some time with me as we explored the 2025 version of Choir Genius. Now, if you're already a Choir Genius subscriber, you can upgrade or downgrade your license at any time by clicking on Manage License in the top left corner. But if you're not using Choir Genius yet and you'd like to give it a try, head to choirgenius.com and grab a free 30-day trial, no credit card needed. And finally, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss future tips, updates, or walkthroughs. So thanks again for spending some time with me, and I hope Choir Genius makes your choir life just a little bit easier and a lot more fun.